everyone, Stathis here and welcome back to another exciting Photoshop tutorial. Today we will be looking on how to take a plain Facebook icon and transform it into this using Photoshop. In this channel we will be going through a variety of techniques using Photoshop, so make sure you subscribe to not miss any tutorials. And without losing any time, let's get started. Okay, let's create a new document by going to File and then New. Let's set the name to Facebook icon and let's set the size to 1200 pixels by 1200 pixels. The resolution is 300 pixels per inch. The color mode is RGB color, and let's change the background to white. Both color profile and pixel aspect ratio are fine. Okay, let's press create. Now we need to unlock the layer to be able to edit it. Select the layer and change the name to background. Now make sure you have the layer selected, and we need to click on the foreground icon to change the background layer to a light color. Select the paint bucket tool and change the color of the layer. Now we need to create a new layer on the top of the background and change the name to Facebook icon background. Now select the layer and click on the rounded rectangle tool. So make sure you hold Shift and drag with your mouse. So now we need to change both the color and the radius of the corners. So let's change the color first to a blue color, or click on the color picker and you can type the color code I have here and then press OK. Now we need to change the radius of the corners and let's change it to, let's say, around 50 pixels. Now make sure you have the layer selected and go to Select All and align the layer in both vertical and horizontal directions, and then press Select, Deselect, or you can press Ctrl and D in Windows or Command and D in Mac. Now we need to create a new layer and this will be our text. So change the name to text and then click on the horizontal type tool and let's type the F letter. We will send the font to Clavica, which is very similar to the Facebook icon. So press here, and then what we need to do is to position the F letter to approximately there on the bottom right. Now we need to press Ctrl and T in Windows or Command and T in Mac to resize the letter. That's perfect. And now we need to zoom just to make sure the bottom of the letter touches on the bottom of the Facebook icon background. That's good. Now we need to change the foreground color to white. So select the text and change the color to white. That's good. Now what we need to do is to create another one layer on the top of the text for our mask. So create a new layer and name it to Mask Top. Make sure you have the layer selected and click on the ellipse marquee tool, and we need to create a circle to act as a mask. So let's position our ellipse around, let's say, there. That looks good. And now make sure your layer is selected and go to Select, Inverse, and then click on the Edit, Fill. Make sure the contents is set to white and press OK. Now did you see what happened? The mask layer is considering all of the layers that lay underneath the mask layer. So what we need to do is that we need to only locate it for the Facebook icon background. Now if we reduce the opacity, the result is the same too. So what we need to do is to make sure you have the mask layer selected and click the small rectangle here, which is the Facebook icon background, and click the mask layer icon to add a mask. And now we have created our mask. Now let's drop the opacity down to, let's say, 21%. That looks good to me. Now what we need to do is to create a new layer on the top of the mask layer, and we need to name it to lighting. Now make sure you have the layer selected, and we need to bring some lines. So let's bring one here, one there, one there, another one there. So we'll draw a small rectangle at the bottom of the Facebook icon. So we need to make sure that the distance at the right is the same with the distance at the left. So let's do some quick maths. So this is set to 0.931 inches, and let's set it to 1.026 inches. So if we subtract the numbers, this is 0.095 inches, and let's change this one too. So if this line is located at 3.072 inches, it means that we need to place our line at 2.977 inches. Now we need to click on the rectangle marquee tool and hold the shift in order for the line to touch the lines, and drag with your mouse. These are some cool tricks using Photoshop just to make sure that we get the accuracy we want. Now select the gradient tool and click on the gradient editor, and we will set the opacity to 0%. We'll make sure that this is transparent. The opacity of the right side is 0% too, and we'll create a new color in the middle, in which it will be 100% white. Make sure that the color is set to white and press OK. Now hold the Shift key in your keyboard and drag a line with your mouse. Now there are a lot of variations we can do in order to make our icon look more attractive. So what we need to do now is to select the lighting layer and drop the opacity down to, let's say, 54%. Now what we need to do is to click Ctrl and T in Windows or Command and T in Mac, and we will rotate it slightly. Let's rotate it around there and place it there. Now both of the sides of the line are extended, so we need to trim this part. So what we need to do is to have our lighting layer selected and click on the small rectangle tool on the Facebook icon background, and then click the mask layer icon, and now you can see that both of the sides of the line were removed. Okay, that's good. Now select the Facebook icon background, right click and select blending options. Then click on the drop shadow, and what we need to do is that we need to change the opacity to, let's say, 36%, and we'll also change the angle to, let's say, 133 degrees. For the distance, we will set it to 6 pixels. We will set the spread to 22% and the size to 1 pixel. In regards to the contour selection, we'll set it to linear. We will also add a stroke around the layer, so make sure you select the stroke, change the gradient to foreground to transparent, and let's change the size to, let's say, 4 pixels. For the opacity, we will keep it to 100%. For the gradient, we'll set it to around -68 degrees, and then press OK. Now select the text layer, right click and select blending options. For our text, we will use a drop shadow effect, and we will set the blending mode to multiply. For the opacity, we'll set it to 100%. For the angle, let's set it to -90. For the distance, we'll change it to, let's say, 9 pixels. For the spread, we'll drop it down to, let's say, 14%. And for the size, we'll set it to, let's say, 4 pixels. We'll set the contour to linear. Now what we need to do is to also add a stroke. So select the stroke and we'll change the structure size to, let's say, 5 pixels. We'll change also the position to inside. For the blending mode, we'll keep it to normal and we'll drop the opacity down to, let's say, 75%. We will adjust the scale slightly to 95% and then press OK. Now, right click on the mask top layer and select blending options again. Then select drop shadow and we will keep the blending mode to multiply and we will change the distance to 3 pixels. We'll change the spread to 8% and we'll change the size to around, let's say, 7 pixels. And for the contour, we'll choose the ring selection. I would like to get a more nicest shape at the back of the layer. And let's also add an inner shadow. Again, you can edit and customize the layer style of your icons. Let's change the blending mode to darken. And increase the opacity to, let's say, around 56%. Looks fine. We'll slightly change the angle to, let's say, minus 65 degrees. For the distance, we will set it to 9 pixels. For the choke, we'll set it to, this option reminds me MMA actually. For the choke, we will set it to 33% and the size, we'll set it to 21 pixels. And we'll keep the quality contour to the ring selection. Now we will add a stroke too, so make sure you select the stroke option. And we will change the size to, let's make it 10 pixels. We'll keep the inside as a position. And for the blending mode, we'll change it to linear burned. Now the opacity is set to 75%. Let's change it slightly to, let's increase it slightly to 77%. That's good. Now let's change the angle to, let's say, minus 90 degrees. And that looks good. So press OK. Now what we need to do is to right click on the lighting layer and select blending options. And we will add and drop shadow again. And as you can see, the trim sides are visible, they are extended actually. So what we can do to avoid that is to drop first of all the size to 0 and we'll set the spread to 0 and then distance also. Now if we change the angle, you will notice that the text layer is affected too. Did you see that? So we need to avoid that. What we need to do is to, let's set the angle to minus 62 degrees. We'll set the contour to linear and let's change the blending mode to normal. So let's set the distance to 3 pixels. Let's keep the opacity to 100%. But what we need to do now is to play with the settings because we don't want the text to be affected. So let's change the size to 0. Distance is set to 0 pixels too. Okay, that looks good to me. So what we need to do now is to bring the like icon in our document. This is something I created using AutoCAD. And then I remove the background using Photoshop. And let's place it there. Now we need to rasterize the layer in order for us to change the color and then select the white color. Change the gradient tool to the paint bucket tool and change the color to white. And now what we need to do is that we need to add some effects in our like icon. Let's reduce the size slightly and rotate it around there. Yep, that looks good to me. Now right click and select blending options. We need to add an inner shadow, and then we'll change the blending mode to normal, and let's change the opacity to, let's keep it 53% for now, and change the angle to 75 degrees. For the distance, we will set it to 0 pixels, and for the choke, we'll keep it 40, and we will reduce the size to 6 pixels. Now for the quality contour plot, we'll set into the ring selection, and what we can also do is to add an outer glow. So select the outer glow, and we'll go to blending mode and set the mode to hard light. We will increase the opacity to, let's say, 26%, and we will increase the size also to 7 pixels. Now for the outer glow, we will set the quality contour to linear, and as you can see, our Facebook icon has already been formed. And what we can also do is to click on the like button, blending options, and add a stroke 2. We'll set the position to center, and we definitely need to decrease the size to, let's say, I think 3 pixels will be good. Yes. We will change the blending mode to normal, and we'll also change the opacity to, let's say, 75% looks good. Now what we can do is to leave our Facebook icon as it is, or we can change the color of the mask to white. Now to change the color to white, we need to select the mask top layer and increase the opacity. Let's further increase it to, let's say, 96%. And now, as you can see, we don't have just a plain icon, but we have a nice, good looking icon. And I encouraged you to use the methods and techniques you learn in this tutorial to build your own icons and use them in your social media, in your animations, in your presentations, in your projects. And that was a tutorial for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned some more techniques that you can implement in your designs in order to build your own social media icons. And these kind of designs are the simple designs. This is a brand new channel, and we'll be going through a variety of techniques and methods, not just 2D but also 3D. So if you wish to use more techniques and how we use the tools available in Photoshop, don't forget to subscribe to not miss any future creative related tutorials, and make sure you leave a comment below if you faced any difficulties in using the Photoshop tools, and we will make sure we create more tutorials in the near future. So that was a tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Stathis, and I will see you in the next one. By then, take care.